What's up, guys? Good evening. About 10 o'clock here. Getting a little bit late for my old man self. I wanted to make this video tonight in my new kitchen. First of all, because I'm proud of it. It's been a long time coming. I've waited years, 5 years, if not more, for this house. I could tell so many stories about what's led to this very point right here, sitting at this island in my kitchen. But I'll say that for another day. What I want to talk to you guys about tonight is something that's been on my mind a lot recently. Something that has actually been on my mind for years now, and it's actually been a large part of my process as a whole. Now, it might come off a little bit simple by some of the ways I describe it, but truly, it's the simple things that make the largest difference in life. Now that I've started this video with my hair down, I'm going to put it up, so hope you guys don't mind that. What I want to talk to you guys about today is, again, something I've spent 5 years, if not more, learning about in particular. Now, to help you understand this kind of journey that I've been on with this concept in particular, I'm going to take it way back. You see, I grew up in a lot of ways very much unexpressive, very much scared to be myself, as I told you guys before. I didn't know how to really speak my mind. I didn't know how to be myself around many people. And I was just scared of being me in a lot of ways. I felt that if I was me, I would be embarrassed. Something would happen. I had, what actually ended up happening was, because of this belief, I ended up manifesting the situations that proved this to me. I really just believed them into existence, like we do. This side of myself was something that I developed throughout the years, just with the kind of environment I grew up in. It was by no means bad by any ways. My mother and father did a great job with everything they knew how to. That's what I believe most parents do. My father was on the side, he was construction, or he still does construction, supervising, and very much a type A leader. Kind of like my way or the highway. You're going to do it this way or you're wrong. Obviously that's very much needed in the construction field in many situations. But for me as a child, it was, a lot of times I struggled to speak up for myself. My mom, she was on the other side of the spectrum. Extremely loving, caring, but didn't speak up much for herself. And so I naturally fell into this kind of position within my day-to-day, and as I grew up and became a older kid, if you will, and then a teenager, and especially throughout my middle teenager years, I struggled to express myself and really be me. I began putting on fronts as I got into middle school and high school years, right, as we typically do. I began acting certain ways just based on my friend groups, right? I told you guys before, I had many different friend groups though. So what this led to was me being a shapeshifter in many ways, if you will, where depending on who I was around, it changed the way I acted. Because I was just trying to fit in, ultimately. I was trying to connect with people in a fake way. So I never really found the fulfillment that I wished for in those relationships. It's one thing I've realized recently. I kind of just moved through them in whatever way made sense at the time, and oftentimes that was not really being the me that I wanted to be in all reality. To fast forward from this point into my later on teenage years, I was around the wrong crowds in many cases. The friend groups I was choosing to be like and put on the fronts for were the ones that were getting into trouble, doing very negative things, stealing from people, doing drugs often. So I fell into it as well. I allowed myself to be in those environments. I allowed myself to sink down to those frequencies because I was ultimately just trying to fit in, trying to be cool by what I had determined in my mind was cool. Now this was around sophomore, junior, really sophomore, freshman, sophomore year, when this really turned for the worse into this darker point in my life, sophomore year. And in this point, I actually gave up on a couple identities that I was like fighting for, right? Again, I told you I had these different friend groups I was a part of, which then meant I was a part of different identities within those friend groups. So much of the time earlier on, I was in sports, football, wrestling. I had teams there. I had people that, cared about me, wanted to see me succeed in those sports. I had teams. And so I had this persona with them. I had friends there. And then I had friends outside of sports that I didn't hang out with out of school. And I had friends here and friends there. And I had the main group that I ended up hanging out with, which was the ones that I ended up splitting off with at large and doing all the bad things I was just telling you about. So around this time, end of freshman year, sophomore year, I quit on wrestling, I quit on football. Well, that same year is when my dad got locked up. He went to jail. Me and my mom completely bewildered, right? I remember she picked me up from wrestling practice. I still remember it like it was yesterday. I got in the car, I sat there, and I could just tell like something was off. The energy was off. And I said, Mom, what's wrong? Well, she told me what happened. And before we got out of the parking lot, she was bawling her eyes out. She was scared for me, scared for herself. She didn't know what she was going to do. She was, again, completely bewildered. And I sat there just remembering, I remember sitting there just confused, angry, and not knowing how to feel ultimately. I was already at this hard stage of life, freshman year, where I'm trying to figure out who I am, struggling with sports because I didn't truly love them. I didn't really have like a competitive voice from my father who was helping me like kind of push into that. I kind of just was figuring out whatever way I could and enjoying the friendships, the team I had. And my mom was there for me in that, but I was in this very hard point. So I remember just sitting there just so confused, so angry, like, what is going on? And again, my mom sitting there bawling her eyes out. What am I to do? Blow up and let her feel that too? That's not what I did. I ended up bottling it up. I kept it on the inside. As many of you might have understood, or if you don't, take it for advice when I say it now, you can't bottle emotions up. Well, you can, but ultimately what's going to happen is it's going to explode. It's going to pop when it comes out. And what that looks like can be very ugly. It's something you definitely got to watch out for. But in this part of my life, I bottled it up. I said, you know what, I can't take this out of my mom. I can't blow up and really show how I feel because I really don't even know how I feel. I'm just doing what a kid's supposed to do, right? I'm playing sports. I have some friends, Well, within the next coming year, I pretty much gave up on the good identities, the good side of my life that I had going. Again, I quit football. I quit wrestling. I had a relationship at the time that I put a lot of time and energy into, and it was, as healthy as a high school relationship can be. I gave up on that. I gave up on school in many ways. I stopped going to school as much. And again, what followed was very much even uglier. I was on drugs. I was getting stolen from. I had several run-ins with the police. Thankfully, never went and did any sort of actual jail time. I had shackles and handcuffs twice. I spent a weekend in a boys' home. Just a lot of ugliness. Oh, I busted these front two teeth out right here. They're both fake. On a car windshield. Terrible night. Probably, I jumped on the hood of a car. Guy drove off, slammed on the brakes. I hit my face on the windshield and then hit my head on the asphalt. I probably went to sleep that night with a concussion, but let me tell you something right now, that still didn't knock any sense into me. So for the young people watching, take note of that. We still have to be the one that takes initiative to make a change in our life. It's not going to happen just because something ugly happens. It's us that makes it the decision to take initiative, right? But anyways, this all happened from me not taking accountability. This all happened because I felt victimized. I victimized myself in my own mind without me realizing. Right? I didn't know why these things were happening to me, and there was a small part of me that said, why me? Why does it have to be this way? Now, if you would have asked me, I never would have told you that. That was the last thing I would have said. I've always been afraid of being perceived as a victim. But if you would have taken a look at my actions throughout this time in my life, you would understand very much that I was believing myself to be a victim, and that continued to play out into my life. Things got really ugly. My daughter's waking up. Hold on. I'll turn this back on in a second. All right. Anyways, I explained that whole story to help you guys see that no matter where you're at in life, you have to be willing to take responsibility. You have to be willing to take accountability for where you're at, ultimately. You see, when I was that kid, when all that stuff was going on, if I was to have stood up and said, you know what, I'm relying too much on my parents for this or that, I'm just going to figure it out. I'm going to listen to these coaches that actually care for me. I'm going to get away from these friends that I know I shouldn't be around. And I'm going to really just do my best. Things would have been different. I think in a different lifetime, I wrestled in college. Now, if you would look at the experience I had in wrestling, you would say that. Like my team members, they wouldn't have said that because I sucked. But it was because I was never really focused, right? And different things, right? It's all a part of the journey. That's what's led me to here today. I'm grateful for all of it. I wouldn't change a single thing about it because it's made me who I am today. You see, it took me going through that to then go into trading. Spent 2 years. Failure, losing money. Mindset straight. I'm not giving up. I'm going for it. I'm going to make this happen. Right? Things were, I got comfortable, right? I had this grind going with trading, working construction 40 hours a week, raising my daughter. I was like, you know what? I'm comfortable just trading throughout work and after the end of the day and all that kind of stuff. I'm comfortable. Can't be comfortable. There's no need for me to be comfortable. I need to be expanding my skills more. Jumped into life insurance. Life insurance sales. Pretty, somewhat hard, high ticket sale. Depending on who you ask in industry and all that kind of stuff. Jumped into that. Spent a year and a half in that, giving it my absolute all. The first 3 months were terrible. I didn't make $1, but I was spending money, right? And I didn't have much money to begin with. But I stayed with it. Didn't give up. Wanted to give up 100 times. Did not. Didn't even let it be a choice or an option in my mind. So many and tons of times. Spent a year and a half doing that. Things got rocky. Leadership got rocky with the life insurance company I was with. Could have said, fuck it, I'm jumping out at this point. But I didn't. What I did was double down on myself. I said, you know what? This is all going on and I don't like it. But the only thing I can control is my skills. I went and invested in myself. I spent around $5,000-$6,000 on sales training. Flew out to Arizona, met these guys, 7th level, Jeremy Miner, and ended up meeting the company I've worked for since then. Books Are Fun. Obviously, about what this journey has in the middle of it right now, building from broke. My point in saying all that is that when I woke up 5 years ago, before I got into trading, I realized I took accountability. I said, you know what? I'm here because of my own decisions. And it's only my own decisions that are going to get me out. Now, 5 years later, 2 apartments later, I finally have a dream home. Yeah, it's a renting process right now, but there's nothing I could have picked better. With that being said, even it being a rental property, there's tons of benefits that come with it. Like, I'm not even going to have to get into it. It's a dream home. There's a 60-acre park in the backyard. There's a huge deck. Like, every room is pretty huge. Like, there's nothing I could have. There's things I'm finding in the basement that I've wanted for months now. Like another barbell, Olympic barbell, one in the basement. Another bench set, one in the basement. A bigger aquarium for my daughter's fish tank, for my daughter's fish, one in the basement. Basketball hoop, so I can play basketball whenever I want to, get some cardio, one in the basement. I can't make this shit up, guys. But it started with me being accountable. It started with me taking the initiative in my own life and choosing to head in a different direction, changing the degree by which I was heading ever so slightly, day by day, until I found alignment, and I've gone for it. You see, this house came to fruition because of the work I've done with Heart Led, the organization we're building, the youth inspiration movement we are building, right? Partnering up with a teacher from high school, someone who spoke to me in that time when I was that lost teenager at sophomore year. He spoke to me. Didn't even have to tell him what I was going through. He just spoke to me. He was showing up day by day as the individual who was going to change lives. He was showing up as the individual who was fully accountable. And he spoke to me in a time when no one else could, without even talking to me about what I was going through. I reconnected with him, I don't know, August sometime last year. He told me I need to go speak to kids. I need to go get on stages and tell my story. He told me that, and I shied away from it. I said, no, that's not for me, right? Well, I got into visualization. I've always meditated for the past 5 years, but I got heavy into visualization. Some of these visuals I have, they come to me. Some of them I write out, I script, but some of them come to me. Like I go into a deep meditative state, spend 10 minutes breathing very deeply, taking my awareness away from my body and the things that are going on in my life and putting it on a part of my body or whatever, you name it. If you know about meditation, you know what I'm saying. I slow my brain waves down and get to a higher frequency by which I am able to concentrate more effectively, right? That's the scientific dialogue if you need that, whatever. And obviously vague at that point too. But I go to this state, right? I'm doing it regularly. Some I'm reading something beforehand, so it's in my subconscious and that's what I'm visualizing. Some I just go into the state and let what comes, right? Which sometimes isn't anything. But I go into the state, I visualize, and I go to the state, and what happens is I end up in the visualization, deep visualization. Deepest one I had that week, or maybe even that month. I don't remember. In that visual, I was on stage in my old elementary school speaking with Arma, the teacher, speaking and bringing the book Atomic Habits to kids. Right? Speaking with Arma, big thing to highlight here. Okay? So this visual came to me. I journaled about it and I moved on. I didn't act on it. I didn't even call Arma, right? Didn't even call Arma. Well, that same week, it was Thanksgiving week. That was like the Monday or Tuesday, whatever day it was. That same week, it was Saturday. We were living with my parents at that time. They came back to town, my parents. They offered to take my daughter and do something with her. Me and my wife said, okay. Me and the wife got in some sort of little argument, whatever. She left to go to the grocery store. Not a big deal, but we were just, doing our own thing for some time. I wasn't in any sort of rush. I had already been working. It was mid-afternoon. I said, I'm going to go to the gas station, get an energy drink. But I'm not in any sort of rush. I'm going to bring the camera with me. Or my phone and my tripod with me, and we'll see what happens. There's a video, it's me in a field on the channel. That's this day. But anyways, I'm driving to the gas station. All right, it's 15 minutes away. It's the closest gas station out there. And I was going out there. My mom calls me. Something about whatever they're doing. I talk to her for a minute. Right. I get off the phone with her, and I put a video on from YouTube on the car speaker. It's a video from Here Nor There. You guys check him out. He's got a ton of great content. But he's a manifestation kind of YouTuber, whatever. I'm watching this video, going down the road, listening to it more than anything. Haley calls me, my wife. She's like, basically saying, what are you doing? Because we just had this small argument, and we're talking for a second. She's saying she's going to the grocery store. I pull up to the gas pump, still on the phone, get off the phone with her, and I said gas. Yeah, I pulled up to the gas station right in front of the front row doors. And I'm sitting there, again, not in a rush. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to wait until the 11-minute mark of the video before I go in. Because I'm not in a rush. I'm going to shoot a video. I like this video a whole lot, but I don't want to wait the 20 minutes that it is. I'm going to watch 6 more minutes until the 11-minute mark, and then I'm going to go in. All right? So I do that. I think it was 11:21. I think that was the exact time on the video, 11:21, when I chose to pause it. Because, again, it was a good video. 11:21, I get up, I get out of the door, I get out of the car, and I'm walking to the door, right? And as I'm walking up, this is one of those gas stations where it has like the airlock almost, right? Where there's 2 doors. Airlock's a silly name, but whatever. And inside this little airlock, there's an older lady standing right there, and she's looking out at the gas pumps. I'm not sure what she's doing, but I keep walking, and I walk up, and I grab the door handle, right? I'm going to open the door for her, or at least myself. And I look back because I knew there was someone behind me. And there Arma was, the teacher. Him and his son, walking right behind me. At the 11-minute mark of the video. On this random Saturday after Thanksgiving. Right? A big part of the story is, I didn't live, now I do, in this house, but I didn't live in the town that I went to school in. I didn't live in the town that Arma lived in. I lived in Edgemoor, 30 minutes down the road. This was never a gas station that Arma would normally go to. This is the gas station I go to normally, but it was never the one that he would go to. So on this random Saturday after Thanksgiving, I get out of the car at the 11-minute mark, 11-minute and 21-second mark of the video, like I planned to do, randomly. And as I'm walking to the door, Arma is right behind me, coming in. And he's smiling. And we walk into the gas station, and it's him and his son. He's 13, 14. Xavier's cool. You're a cool guy, man, if you ever see this. We're walking in. You were there for this. This was funny. We're walking in, and I said some silly shit, right? I was like, man, I seen you. Because I was blown away. I was bewildered once again. I had just seen this guy in a visual 5 days before, 3 days before, whatever. And there he was on my side of town. No reason to be there other than if you ask him, he said he had to go to the bathroom. They were on the way back from Florida from their Thanksgiving trip. That was his logical explanation, right? Which makes sense other than the fact that it was that gas station at the exact time I got out of the car at the 11-minute, 21-second mark to go inside. And there he was, walking in at the same time with me, with his son. From there, things have fallen into place, hand over foot, time and time again. That was November, Thanksgiving time. Within 2 months from there, we had our first few gigs lined up to go speak at schools. We had speakers that fell in line, Jeremiah Carter, Kylie Tilly, first few group of speakers in the speaker series, and me. We went and spoke at Lancaster High. Right? After that, it was Indian Land Middle, 7th grade. Or no, 8th grade. Then it was 7th grade, Indian Land Middle. Then it was Indian Land High, 3 different speaking events. And that was like pretty much how we finished out the year. Things have hand over foot fallen right into place from there so many times, right? One of the events is the second one. We didn't have a videographer. My boy Arthur, y'all hear about him more as everything goes on. He couldn't make it to town. He lived 3 hours away. Mind you, he came to town for the Lancaster event, right? 3-hour drive. But he couldn't make it to town for the second one. It was like 2 or 3 weeks later. We're like, bro, we need a videographer. We need someone to be able to video this stuff because we got to make the content. Jeremiah calls up his homie, Chukazam, our homie. We went to high school with him. I went to high school with him too. Chukazam's available the next day. He's able to come. 1 day notice. 1 day notice. So again, time and time again, things have just fallen directly right into place. All the way up to this past week, moving into this home. Y'all, this is a beautiful home. I couldn't have dreamt up this home for myself anytime soon. And it fell right into place. So much so that we just talked about this house the first time 2 weeks, not even 2 weeks ago. It was like the Thursday before last. So tomorrow it'll be 2 whole weeks since the conversation started about this house. All right. Starting to talk about this house excited me, even though I didn't think it was gonna. Actually, it didn't excite me at the start because I wasn't putting any faith into it. I didn't know if it was really even an option, right? But I asked Arma about it, and because I had heard about it like 2 months prior, didn't say anything about it, right? But I asked him about it, and he's like, he started thinking about it. And 30 minutes later, he's like fully on board because of everything that made sense, everything with Heartlet, everything that we're doing all together. Within the next week, it was like a done deal, pretty much. Within a week and a couple days, basically. I was talking to the network, to the connection, who was in charge of the property. Me and him are decent friends now, about to be great friends. And we moved in Saturday. That was the Thursday prior that we started talking about that. Monday, there's a little bit of talk about it. Yeah, something like that. It's not even been 2 weeks. I might be getting my exact days messed up. But my point is that all these things fell right into place. Oh yeah, getting in here, they bumped us in front of people. It was a lower rent than they were going to charge those people. No deposit, all types of benefits. Like we could have done it all anyways, but they let us in just based on the network, based on everything I've been doing, based on the alignment, on the character, on the things that I've set myself up for, on the things that I've been proving to myself and everybody else for the past 6 months, and even on the quantum level, 5 years past. We moved to 2 different apartments before now. Both not in Indian Land. I was scared to come into Indian Land because of my past, because of how I was sophomore year, because of how I was that whole time frame. I was scared of my story. I was scared of who I was then. I thought in a lot of ways it did. It had a nasty taste in my mouth over who I was in this town. I was scared to come back. I was scared to even think about my story. But doing this work, doing the visualization, becoming a part of or understanding my shadow and working on myself, naturally brought all this to fruition where I went back to my schools. I went back to a school in my same school district and the schools I actually went to, told my story in the most positive, uplifting, inspiring way possible because I own it now. The story doesn't own me in my head, I own it. I took the time to delicately remind myself what that story was about and why it happened the way it did and what my accountable position was in it. I made the decision to be accountable over the story. That's where it all started. Sorry, there was a noise. Alright guys, that was the last interruption. Hopefully the frame's still just as good as it was. I know it's a little bit different now. It was my dog. That's what it was. She got tripped up on the barbell, or the new barbell that I found and brought up on the deck. She got tripped up on it with the leash. But anyways, this all started with me taking accountability and being willing to show up as me and to face my story, to face the shadow, to face the side of myself that was ugly to me. It started with me being willing to accept my responsibility, my accountability within the situations I was in to begin with, which were very ugly, right? But they were it was my decisions that led me to that point, and I had to accept that and work from that. I had to accept that that's who I had chosen to be up until that point, and if I didn't choose to be someone different from that point, things weren't going to change. They were actually only going to get worse. I could numb it. I could continue to numb it the ways that I was already doing, but it would only get worse, and I would only feel worse as things went on, because that's what already was happening. So I didn't choose to do that. I chose to wake up, and I'm never going back. Fuck, I'm 5 years down the road at this point. I don't think I ever could go back. I'm 5 years into this journey, and it's been filled with nothing but purposeful struggle. Meaning it's been hard on me, first and foremost, right? It's asked and demanded and commanded me to do more than I had ever thought imaginable or that I ever thought was possible for me. All the way up until, again, going to speak in my hometown, going to speak in front of hundreds, 600, 1,500 kids, high schoolers, middle schoolers, about my story, about where I come from, which scared the fuck out of me just 5 years ago, might I add, even a year ago. All the way up until that point. It demanded the most of me. Not only that, it demanded the most out of my family. Again, we've lived on and off with my parents for 5 years now. It's full 7 years, but me, my wife, and my daughter for the past 3 years. Since my daughter's been alive. We had 2 different apartments. They didn't work out between financials and the situations at large and everything else. And they were just apartments, not a home with land. My parents have a nice property on 2 acres of land, and there's tons of land around it. So of course we always fell back going into that, because I'm a big believer that kids need nature. And we all need nature, ultimately. So it's demanded a lot of all of us. But me continuing to show up with the right mindset, with the perspective that everything is I'm accountable for everything. I will continue to be accountable for everything, and work from that perspective and choosing who I want to be. It has led us to this very point where we're at now. Full accountability, full alignment, nothing but working with alignment and gratitude, and allowing everything else to fall into place exactly as it's meant to be. Having more faith than ever in the universe, in the support that is under me, no matter what, no matter who I am, where I am, or what I'm doing. Right? The universe will always support what I'm expressing. And knowing me and knowing what I've been through, knowing this journey of struggles, it has shaped me and casted me into the individual who will not falter under pressure, who will not give in to the easy pleasures whenever the riches come, whenever life gives me all that I've always desired, and I have the position, I have the capability to go and throw parts of it away for silly pleasures. I will never be that individual. Will I have step backs and falter at times and make mistakes? Absolutely. This whole journey is full of mistakes. In fact, I've failed 1,000,000 times more than I've ever succeeded. But it's those many failures that are actually they're all lessons. They're all things that craft you and shape you into being a better individual, if you choose to take the right stance. If you choose to take the right stance. I told you guys that when I started this video that there was a major concept that I have been on recently and going over for a while as well. And it's just that. The stance you take on everything. The accountable position that you hold yourself from and in throughout your day, throughout your life, throughout the events that go on and whatever situations come to you and are asking of you. Who are you choosing to be? Who are you choosing to show up as? What stance are you going to take? Are you going to allow life to just drag you through and never choose the individual that you want to show up as? Always falling behind and always feeling like you will continue to fall behind and always feeling like life is just beating you up and that you don't have any sort of choice but to be ass, for lack of better words? Or are you going to take those punches and roll with them? Are you going to take them, dodge and weave and move around and get your head movement going, get your 1-2 step and move out the way and continue beating back and getting back up every time you fall the fuck back down? Are you going to choose to continue to show up? And when you show up, how are you going to show up? What stance will you take? Keep moving, my friends. It's up to you and nothing but you to make your story exactly what it's meant to be. Trust, have faith, move with grace, move with patience, move with gratitude. Ask yourself who you're going to be today and choose someone you actually want to be. That's it, guys. I'll call it. It's 10:43 now. I get some sleep. Tomorrow's a great day. It's waiting for us. I love you guys. Have a great night.